Well, hello and welcome to Phuket Insights. Today I'm really pleased to be joined by Ray Dixon, and we're going to talk about his backstory, what he does here, and all the other things he can tell us about his life in Phuket. So let's get into it. Well, Ray, thanks for coming today.
Thanks for the invite, Martin. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, you too. So, can I just get a quick summary of who you are and what you do?
Yes, well, my name's Ray Dixon, as you said. I born in England. Parents emigrated to Australia when I was 9. Had my whole career there pretty much until 2017 July. My background, I became a natural medicine practitioner when my asthma was cured at the age of 18. So I met a man, did yoga with his wife, and met this man who cured my asthma. So that was a revelation for me. And I thought, gee, I'd like to do what he does. So I did.
Yeah.
I went to Naturopathic College, Southern School of Natural Therapies in Melbourne, became a naturopath, went on to do chiropractic at RMIT University in Melbourne, had a different name then, it's now called RMIT University. Practiced with that man and his wife in the yoga school for over 40 years. So that's pretty much how that all happened. It just came out of nowhere when I was 18. And coming here, because that's a big change, I pretty much I got a little tired of the in the consultation room box, like the 12-hour days, confined, limited time for holidays, 2-week grabs. That's how I first came to Thailand, actually, 25 years ago. And then I decided I wanted to change from that. And so I decided I would kind of semi-retire. I'm not the type of full retirement type of person. You know, when you've got skills and you love what you do, you don't ever flick it off. But I just wanted to wind back, get more freedom of time, and moved here in July 2017.
And are you here full time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I only go back to Australia to visit mum. And that ended, sadly, in February this year, because she finally passed at 92, which is fine. I mean, she'd had a great life. But that's what was drawing me back every 6 months. I don't have a history there with children or family too much. So once that ended in February, I probably won't be back more than once or twice every 2 or 3, 4 years.
So, what were you doing in Australia before you came here, and what was the exact turning point to make you come here full time?
Yeah, okay. I was in the clinic. So pretty much 5 days a week, I'd be in the clinic all day, seeing patient after patient after patient, go home and do that for 6 months, then have a 2-week holiday. That was pretty much my lifestyle. Lived at Mount Dandenong, about 1 hour out of Melbourne, up on a small mountain. And the change came over time. There was a few reasons for this, Martin. The bureaucratic red tape that I could see happening in Australia was wearing me down. I didn't like it. I didn't like the policing. I didn't like the fines for everything. Even in the regulation of my clinic and my practice, the rules and regulations because I watched all this come into being over 40 years. So I started at a time of a considerable amount of freedom and leeway. And then that whole bureaucratic side of the police state, which I don't like, evolved progressively over a very long time. And I didn't like it. And I decided it was never an instant decision. It was a gradual one, that one thing after another. I would never have believed I would have actually left. I never had an intention to leave Australia permanently. It just kind of happened. I came here for holidays. I love Thailand. I mainly visited Phuket, but I've traveled a fair bit of Thailand. And then I just decided one day, you know what, I like the freedoms I see here, because it was kind of like winding the clock back. And I thought, I think I'll be happy to live here. Then I met who's now my Thai wife. So that kind of took it a step further, but it didn't put me under any pressure. She was happy to come to Australia.
So, when you arrived here, what were your first impressions? You know, like expectation against reality. Anything you can think of?
Visiting for holidays?
No, when you came here full
Because I
time.
learned a bit holidaying because I was obviously coming annually and sometimes twice a year in those last years before 2017. So I'd kind of learnt a fair bit just on visits, but it's still a very different reality
Yeah.
when you live here. Couple of points would be, the first thing is it's hot. It's a warm climate. Melbourne's got 4 seasons, and
Yeah.
often it's said 4 seasons in one day. I was speaking on a Zoom yesterday into Melbourne, and it's freezing there right now with beanies on and coats. So I'm kind of used to a very temperate climate. So living here all year, it's always warm. And we're right now in the hottest time of the year as we approach Songkran, of course, but it's always warm. So you've certainly got to be able to cope with that. People say to me, what about humidity? Does that bother you? I just see humidity as part of the heat. If you can handle the heat, you can handle humidity. I mean, I know dry heat. We have that in Melbourne, but in the summer. But yeah, it's okay. But it does get warm. You do need to be able to handle that. And there's quite a few things. There's quite a list. I mean, you know, the driving here, the way the roads work, the motorbikes, the cars. You know, we used to rules and regulations, and they have rules and regulations here, but they're not enforced. So until there's an accident. So you've kind of got to adapt to those variabilities here, which are a little bit of an adjustment over time, but anyone can do them with practice.
So what's your day-to-day life? What does that look like now?
Oh, I get up in the morning. I've always done this, even in Australia. I always go out for breakfast because I work while I'm having breakfast. But most people I wouldn't really call it work because I do what I love. So it's not work for me. But I'll have my iPad with me. I'll answer messages. I address questions from all over the world on health issues that I help people with. I still share a health product around the world. I do Zooms. I've been on Melbourne radio until as recent as a few months ago. So I get lots of questions from people, and I need to supervise that and give them advice and give them answers. I get all that done, both personal and work, so to speak, over my breakfast, because I might take an hour and a half to go at any restaurant on any given morning.
Do you have a Thai breakfast or a Western breakfast?
I'm pretty Western there. Yeah,
so
I'm still. I mean, this morning was eggs on toast. You know, I'm still pretty much a Western breakfast person, but I do like Thai food. I love curries. My favourite cuisine's Indian.
Yes.
So I lived in India for a while too. So I've kind of got a bit of a varied exposure to different kind of food styles.
Okay. So what's worked out well for you here?
I'm happy with most things. My wife's fantastic. She's Thai, speaks English. She had a master's degree in Thai, actually. But fortunately for me, because my Thai is very poor, her English is pretty good. So that's part of that evolution. So that side of my life's worked out well. I've realised quite a few dreams here. I did find the freedoms that I wanted, mostly. So I've got that back. I live in a beautiful property looking at the ocean, Yarnui Beach, not that far
Very
from here,
nice.
down Rawai. I would never have had that affordability for me in Australia, even as a practitioner. I just couldn't afford it. So that's another dream I always had, to live near the beach, but to have the sea view, that's the icing on the cake. So I've got that too. So there's a lot of things I've realised here that I'm very, very happy with.
And anything that hasn't worked out or gone to plan?
No. I think there's certainly things you need to be cautious with here, very different to the Western Australia. But no, I haven't had any major dramas or failings in what I hope to achieve. But just cautions. We would have that anywhere, no matter where we live. You know, like I think the roads one has to be very careful with here. You and I would see stories regularly of sad events on motorcycle accidents, for example. It is the worst in the world in Thailand, and especially Phuket. So you've certainly got to have your wits about you. And I haven't had, I mean, I've had a few scrapes, but I haven't had anything of consequence.
All right. So what are the key upsides of living in Phuket?
Well, there's a number. One, the freedom I've mentioned 3 or 4 times, and I'll keep saying it because it's what attracted me primarily. The weather, if you can handle heat, is fantastic. I mean, even you got the dry season like Groundhog Day, every day sunshine like today, and soon we'll enter the wet season and we will get some monsoons and rains. And by the time it comes, I'm quite happy that it comes.
Yeah.
I actually
like
enjoy it.
Yeah, I do too.
Things drop a few degrees.
Yeah.
I like that, but you'll still get plenty of sunshine, so that's really, really great. The affordability of many things, most things, is much better here. Like I have a house and a couple of apartments adjoining my house, which I just couldn't afford in Australia.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford them. They would be a quarter of the price, or certainly no more than a third here, brand new, built by myself with builders. I couldn't have afforded that, so I certainly love that. Affordability in almost every way. Food's cheaper, generally speaking. Western maybe not so much, but Thai very much cheaper and very nice as well. I think you need to factor in what isn't cheaper.
Well, that's what I'm going to come on to next. Ask you what are the upsides.
Yeah.
What are the downsides or things that people should bear in mind?
Anything imported alcoholic-wise, and I wasn't and am a bit of a wine drinker, so you've got a 500% duty on those. So what might cost $10 in Australia or $15 for a bottle of wine, that same bottle of wine here will cost you 40, 50 Australian dollars. So that's a downside if you're a wine drinker. If you're a local beer drinker, you've got no issues at all. So that's one you certainly need to factor in. You'd certainly want to have medical insurance.
I was going to ask, about medical costs and things like that. You have to have insurance.
Well, I take care of myself, but I couldn't take care of myself in an accident, so to speak. I would need emergency doctors like anybody would. So my health is very good and I have no issues, but I'm not naive. And fortunately for me, I'm one of the lucky ones because my wife was an education supervisor before she retired last year, working for the education department, and her spouse was covered on her health cover, which was part of her package.
Well, that's extremely fortunate.
Extremely lucky for me.
Yeah.
So I let my private health insurance go in Australia because it was of no use. I don't live there. And I was just fortunate enough as part of my wife's package to be covered in the health system here, being her husband. And that's for life. Because she's now retired and worked with the education department over 30 years, that I'm included in that cover ongoingly. So.
Yeah, that's good insight. So what would you say, what do you think might surprise somebody if they thought, oh, I'd like to do what Ray's done, pack in my life in Australia or Germany or America, wherever they are, and move to Thailand or Phuket in specific. What do you think is going to surprise them, and what should they really look out for in terms of what's the key thing that you mustn't underestimate?
The roads. I would say the roads would rate number one for me. They're busy, especially in the peak time of the year, Martin. Your December, January peak times, there's log jams often, there's accidents often, like you will see them daily. It's not like Australia, I might go a month and not see an accident. You'll see them daily, and sometimes more than one. So I still think that's the biggest cautionary tale, and that is be very, very careful. You have to drive as a defensively or ride defensively whenever you're doing it. You can't drop your guard, and I never would. I mean, I've always ridden motorbikes, by the way. I've had them since I was 18 years of age, so I'm very experienced on motorbikes. I've always had a car license since I was 18 as well. So, but my defensiveness goes up a fair degree since I've been here.
Yeah.
It's automatic now. It's like automatic.
I don't ride here. I've ridden bikes all my life, and I do drive, and I specifically drive a big SUV because I want protection around me and my family. Yes. But also I drive it really carefully because even if I did nothing wrong, if I came into an altercation with a local who happened to be, say, on a scooter or something, it would not go well. unless there was a lot of evidence, to back me up.
Well,
So you have to be very, very wary.
that's a great point, and that is, it's like what we said before. There's laws, but they're not enforced until they're enforced. And the reality is, and this will unnerve most people who first arrive here, that people ghost ride. It's called ghost riding here, which means they're coming up the wrong side of the road. So as you're travelling on the left, and we're both used to that from the UK and Australia, they're coming up the left side. They're supposed to be on the right side.
Yeah, with no lights on at night.
And that's against the law.
Yeah.
And we see it daily. And people will come at you daily. They're not coming directly at you, but they're over to the side of the road. But that took me quite some years to get used to. It would just rattle me all the time because it just doesn't happen in the UK or Australia.
What sort of people do you think this sort of lifestyle suits? The sort of characteristics of general people who you can see people think, oh, they're going to fit in or they're going to struggle. Who do you think it suits?
Well, anyone that really has got an issue with the way politics has gone in many Western countries in the last 20 years, be it US is going through a bit of a change right now, but from what I see in the UK, what I've seen in Australia, this is very different here. Once you come here, they're very protective of their own people. They're very particular who they will let. You will get no mass migration here. They will control that. They will regulate that. Royalty is protected here. It's against the law to speak ill of royalty. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but what I'm kind of saying is some of those more what I would consider conservative principles that I preferred, because freedom's part of that, you will get here. You will get that here, and that you will probably appreciate a lot, like I appreciate a lot. If you're not a fan of the digital increase and you don't want to lose currency, cash, you will love it here. There is no one that doesn't take cash that I have come across. No one. I turn up in Melbourne, I walk in to have a cup of coffee, and there are shops that won't take cash. So, I prefer that, not because of any hidden taxes or black money. It, to me, is freedom. It's another symbol of the freedom. So I love that, being here.
Excellent. And is there anything of that sort of scenario you just described that people underestimate? You mentioned the laws, which can be quite draconian. Do you think people really should understand what they're letting themselves in for before they come?
I think the most important one is don't speak ill of the king in Thai public company. That's the only one. The laissez-majesté law, the one that says you can't speak ill of the king publicly.
One. But then there's also laws of, against insulting Buddha, I believe, is certain things, and you wouldn't put your feet on money if it was on the floor. All these sort of cultural differences, I think most people really should make themselves aware of before they go to any country, whether it's the Middle East, America, Europe, Australia. There's you don't want to upset the locals. Now, if you're looking to come to a place to live, especially with a country like Thailand with such a rich and different culture, I think is that the onus is on you to understand it. And I do think, certainly with the more short-term visitors, sometimes that's not the case.
I think it's commonly the case with tourists. And it probably was a little with myself once upon a time when you don't know. I couldn't agree with you more. If you're coming to live, you should do your homework. Even if you're coming as a tourist, it's not difficult to spend an hour or two reading on the culture. I'll be honest, though, from my experience, Martin, and that is, I don't think Thais are extraordinarily judgmental or punishing for these mistakes. I saw one the other day where there was, and it was obvious, and it was stated accordingly, and they were dressed accordingly, so I can say it. There was Indian visitors, tourists, pulling mangoes off a tree in a temple ground. Now, anybody with any common sense from anywhere in the world wouldn't be insulting the gardens of the temple, and certainly not helping themselves to what is in the trees, but they were. So, and they were obviously tourists. So I agree with you entirely, but they're pretty forgiving. That when I did the rounds in the Thai circuitry and I saw it, where they were discussing about the rude visitors, the tourists. But I think in most of those things you can learn progressively over time, and as long as you use your common sense, people are pretty forgiving. You know, they can understand that you may not know about whatever. Regarding the feet and money, because the king's on the money,
That's right, yeah.
that I certainly wouldn't have known that one until I'd been living here for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you see for yourself next? Where do you see yourself next year, 5 years' time? What are your plans?
I've been very fortunate in having been able to create the kind of life that I ideally wanted. I'm no longer confined to the consultation room. I can travel whenever I want. I'm off to Cambodia next week to travel down the Mekong into Vietnam.
Nice.
I can manage my health sharing around the world with my iPad and Zoom calls. So I'm not confined to the consultation room, but I can still help hundreds and thousands of people around the world with the health product that I share. So I'm very happily doing that. So I've got the kind of freedoms that I want. I've got the magnificent ocean views out my lounge room window and my bedroom window every day when I get up in the morning and through the day. I've got the amount of work I'm happy with, like I'm not tied down all day. I can put it down, I can pick it up. I can travel when I like, and I travel pretty often. I'll be in Malaysia next month, and then I'll be in the Philippines, and then some of that's work as well as play. But like I said to the beginning, my hobby is my work, so I don't really see it as work. So I've really been able to create the absolute perfect lifestyle for me.
And is there anything else you can think of you'd like to share, you think people should know, you know, given the fact that we are talking about Phuket lifestyle and Thai culture? Is there anything you would think people should know about?
Commenting wise, I think the Buddhist major influence on Thai culture is a great positive. To me, generally, it's a great positive. The positive is they are very forgiving, they're very kind, they're very generous, they're generally happy people. All of that I enjoy. And mind you, I have a yoga, I did yoga from when I was 18, as I mentioned earlier. So I have a yoga philosophy background. So I even studied a bit of Buddhism way back in my 20s. So I'm okay with all of that. That's fine with me. I don't subscribe to any one religious practice, and that would include Buddhism. But mind you, they don't call it a religion either. So that's another story for another day. So I just think as long as you can be flexible enough to accommodate and adapt into someone else's country and culture, you can achieve anything you want here. I mean, I opened a business here once the health product took off and I was able to share it. And I've built that internationally from Phuket, not from Australia. I started when I was living here. And some of my biggest groups are not in Australia. They're in Malaysia, they're in the US, because of results that took me there with their families and friends, etc. So, you can set up Thai companies here, visas. Okay, a negative is having to renew your visa every year. That's a bit frustrating, especially when you're living here married to a Thai.
Yeah.
Don't expect to become a citizen here anytime soon. I'm not trying to, but there's only one I know, and it took him 20 years. So as long as you can accept that, and I don't vote, and I don't want the vote, I don't see that as a necessary thing for me. So if you're okay with that kind of world and just creating the one that suits you here, well, you can do that. So yeah, there's a few things like that one does have to factor in, but agents. I think we mentioned off camera about agents and visas. I find a lot of foreigners, we call expats here, living here, use agents, which cost you. You will pay for that. I never have. I first came on a retirement visa. I got that in Australia, so-called, in lay terms, a retirement visa. And then I got that in Australia. You can get that post 55 years of age. I think it's now post 50, but I was already over 50. I was 62 when I came to live here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm 70 now.
Oh, you're looking good.
Yes, thanks. It's the product. So, and my history. You know, I've been in the health industry my whole life. So I got my retirement visa in Australia, organised it myself, came here, annually renewed the retirement visa, did it myself. It's not difficult. It's just a bit frustrating that you've got to go there, but it's not far, half an hour, spend a few hours there. My wife, and then I transitioned to a marriage visa. There are reasons for this, because you can hold less money in your bank account at any set time if you're married as opposed to retired. And then, of course, because of the sharing of the health product, I ended up opening a Power Redox as my company, because I share a Sea Redox as a product. So I opened a company called Power Redox, and now I'm an employee. I have a work permit. If you can ever do that, it's a good idea, especially if you. The big warning: don't work in Thailand unless you've got a work permit.
Oh yes, I know.
Big warning: don't work in you. They will find you. They're finding more and more, and you will then be banned for 5 years minimum. It's not worth the risk.
No.
So if you're actually going to be working here, set up a Thai company, pay that bit of money to do so. You become an employee. You employ a couple of Thais. It's not difficult. Pay them some money, which is fine. You need help anyway. Or it's nice to be able to afford to have help, you know. And then it's good for them. It's good for you. Another quick point I'm thinking of, Martin, get your license here. Get your Thai license.
Oh, driver's
Don't
license.
just rely on an international license. You can use it, you can drive on it, you can ride on it, but make sure, by the way, if you come on an international license, it allows you to ride a motorbike if you're riding a motorbike. Because if you're not, you're going to be in serious trouble.
Well, I was fortunate because I had my car and motorcycle license in Singapore, so I have an ASEAN driver's license, which is valid here.
Perfect.
So that was less of a problem. But I do understand for people coming from the UK, Australia, France, Germany,
Canada,
you have to have a valid license in the first place, and they also insist on an international driver's permit, which is simply just a translation of your license. But if you don't have it, they will fine you for it.
And if you have an accident, no matter whose fault, it's your fault.
You have to have the license. I think the license is the key thing. But I am not.
The license will protect you. Yeah, for sure. But if what I'm saying is, if many people come and they ride motorbikes here, they don't have a motorbike license back home.
I understand.
They only have a car license.
Yeah.
And don't take for granted that the people hiring you or renting you the vehicles will take care of that. They won't.
No, I understand.
They just want the money. They will not advise you at all about that in most instances. So you do need to be aware of that. You've got to protect yourself and do the legal thing in that regard. But eventually,
and also check if you're coming here on holiday, make sure that your travel insurance will cover you if you have a spill on a motorcycle, because many don't.
In Australia, it wouldn't.
No.
In Australia, anything over a 250 cc, you had to have a special insurance. Your normal travel insurance would not cover anything over, and that was 10 years ago, so I don't know now. So there's sort of little things you need to be very careful with.
So you came here and you set your business up. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about what that business is? And is it a digital nomad business, or do you make a product? What is it exactly?
Well, I discovered later in my career, actually, I was retiring to come and live here when I was introduced to a company called ASEA, which is a US-based product supplement manufacturing company based in Utah. But it's quite a unique supplement. It's what they call a redox signaling molecule supplement. Now, supplement is a word we've taken from nutrition, but technically redox signaling molecules is not nutrition. Your cells make them, so you actually make redox signaling molecules inside every cell in the human body, in the same cycle where you make energy in the mitochondria. And what's since been discovered since the late 1990s is that redox signaling molecules interact with the DNA. So it's like a figure eight. They actually together orchestrate everything that happens with your cellular function, everything.
Okay.
So they regulate all cells, your brain, your kidneys, your liver, it doesn't matter. And they've been able for the first time in human history to not only realize what they are and what they do to a considerable extent, that's still being discovered, but to be able to make them in a supplement and make a drink available and a gel for external use available. And that was a revelation for me, because I'd kind of spent my whole life looking for the holy grail in natural medicine, in herbal medicine and nutritional medicine. I never found the holy grail, but this is as universal as it gets. It works on all cells, works on everything, has a great result effect over 3 or 4 months on 99.9% of people.
Oh, excellent.
So I've loved that.
Okay.
And so that was a more than enough reason for me to even come more out of my semi-retirement, because it's fun helping people.
All right. Thanks very much for coming in today. I really do appreciate it and sharing your insights with me.
More than happy.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. And if you want to see more, it would help if you subscribe to the channel, because then we can make more content. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.